to the right edge. Jordan Rapallo!
But it's Murray's time in the sunshine of centre court once again.
He's got it! The Tigers have won by a point!
Hello and welcome to the inaugural Final Score, where if it's happened in sport over the last week, we're going to be talking about it here. I'm your host, Val Febo, here with you from Upstart at La Trobe University. If you want to listen to us, head on to upstart.net.au. I'm joined today by Joel Frucci. He's one of my dear co-hosts on Breakpoint Podcast, and he's also one of the editors at Outside 90. Joel, thank you for coming on the show today. It's great to have you.
Not a problem, Val. Can't wait to get stuck in.
How was your Europe trip, mate? You've been away for the past month?
Yeah, it was the best month of my life by a long way. So, didn't want to come home.
Yeah, that's good. It's good to have you back, though. Nice in the nice cold weather, opposite of what it is over there. So, yeah, nice to have you back in the cold weather.
Thanks, mate.
Josh Campbell, another one of my dear Breakpoint Podcast hosts, the prodigy on Breakpoint Podcast. How you going, mate?
Not too bad. Love getting the nicknames out there. It's good to get that prestige.
Yeah, well, we left out about 5. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
We only got half an hour. We can't really get into all the nicknames.
Yeah, definitely, exactly. And Rudy Edsel, one of the writers for Greenfield Post and Triple M. Great to have you on the show today, mate.
Thanks, mate. Some kids egged my car this morning, but I'm running the new socks and jocks combo, so nothing can bring me down.
Fantastic. Why did they egg your car?
But you'd have to ask them, mate. I've got no
right.
idea.
Yeah, you must be doing
It was
something.
it was all over the driver's side handle, so I couldn't open my car without getting all egg on my hands.
I was just to say, Rudy,
that's a horrible morning.
you handled that excellently.
Yeah, that is never fun. I would have been.
Is that really what we're doing?
That's exactly what we're doing here.
I'd have been pretty upset about that. But let's get stuck into it, guys. The PGA tournament in the golf this morning. Jimmy Walker continues the first-time major winners trend this season, along with Danny Willett at the Masters, Dustin Johnson at the US, and Henrik Stenson at the British. He edged out Australian Jason Day by 1 stroke. He was 14 under. Day was 13 under. It pretty much went down to the last hole, essentially, and Daniel Summerhays quickly finished third at 10 under. But, Josh, the final hole, interesting stuff there.
It was edge of your seat stuff, which you don't often say in golf. But coming into that 17th hole, Walker had a 3-shot lead. And on the 18th, Day eagled. Absolutely incredible to do on the 18th, particularly in that hole.
Yeah.
So having finished with an eagle, back to 1 shot, Walker only needed to par. Gets onto the fairway quite comfortably, but instead of going iron, chipping on in 2, and then putting for the par or even a birdie, he decides to use the 3-wood, hooks it right, has to chip from the rough onto the green, and then has a 2-putt to win it. And then he finishes with a par to win by 1 stroke.
Yeah,
Absolutely phenomenal.
I saw the highlights to the end of it. It was brilliant. It was cutting edge, or it was edge of your seat stuff essentially, and we don't, as you said, see that in golf too much. But he's ranked 48th in the world, and it's his first major, so that's you don't see that a lot. The world number 48 winning anything like that. So it's pretty unbelievable stuff, isn't it?
But what do we think about Jason Day now not being able to defend it, finishing runner-up? Where does he go from here?
Well, I think he's in a pretty good stead. He wasn't really in the best form heading into it, so I think he'd be pretty pleased with his result, don't you?
Yeah, well, I mean, you can't go wrong with coming second in a PGA Championship. I mean, he definitely, obviously, would have wanted to win it, and he was very happy for Walker, but you could tell he was quite upset that he didn't win it himself as well.
Yeah, and he would have been the first person to actually go back-to-back at the PGA, so he'd be very thrilled with that. So, Rudy, what did you think of the whole tournament?
I'm just happy to see Aussies doing well in the golf.
That's.
I did tell you coming in not to throw to me on
Yeah.
the golf because I don't know anything.
Oh,
about
we got to
it.
get
Thanks,
you
Val.
involved
straight
somehow.
under the bus.
But,
I appreciate it. Started
also-
to mean to go on.
But and Joel, what did you feel about Jason Day's second place this morning?
Oh, well, there's nothing wrong with second apart from the fact that it's not first. We all like our Aussies winning, but congratulations to Jimmy Webster. That's quite a big achievement.
Jimmy Walker.
Jimmy Walker,
Jimmy
my
Webster
apologies.
is, St Kilda
That shows
AFL player.
that is my knowledge of golf right there.
Yeah,
but congratulations to him because that's a huge achievement, 48th in the world.
Exactly, absolutely fantastic. And also, yesterday, another edge of your seat result, the netball grand final. Who would have thought this would be one of the most exciting sports of the week? The Queensland Firebirds at 69, New South Wales Swift 67, went to double extra time. New South Wales came from 3 down in the final minute of normal time and the first period of extra time to level things up and had the chance to win in the second period of extra time, but obviously stuffed that up. But it was pretty much like, as Anthony Hudson would say, who would have thought the sequel would be just as good as the original? because last year they played a thrilling 1 point, well, it was a 1 point difference in favour of Queensland, so they've gone back to back, the first team to do that. And the Swifts, obviously they'd be pretty disappointed with the result there. And we've got Vivian Duck, resident netball expert and intern at Netball Australia. How are you going, Vivian?
Good, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
No problems at all. It's great to have you here. Yesterday, unbelievable match, wasn't it?
Oh, incredible. I think I actually lost my voice yelling at the television yesterday. But yeah, it was probably a really good end to the ANZ Champs, which is coming to an end this year, going into the National Netball League in 2017. So it was what a way to go out, I think.
Yeah, definitely so. And I was going to ask you about that. So what exactly is happening to the league next year? So I understand that there is a formation change.
Yeah, so the ANZ Championship is actually coming to a close, or as of yesterday. They are moving into the National Netball League in 2017, which is basically cutting out all the New Zealand teams. So we're going to stay with our 5 Australian teams, and 3 more are going to come into play next year.
Oh, fantastic. That's brilliant. And that'll give more people a chance to play and more exposure, I guess.
I think so, yeah. And they've actually signed a deal with Channel 9, so there's going to be more televised games, which is good as well, yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. And so going back to the grand final yesterday, which Queensland players do you think stood up in the clutch moments?
I think, well, Ramel Aiken stands at 196 centimetres, so you can't really... I don't think she can actually play a bad game. She actually shot the winning goal in the end, although she did find it hard to convert through the game, which is a big talking point, obviously, because she's 2 centimetres away from the ring. So missing the goals 3 times, 4 times in a row is pretty interesting to watch. But I think Laura Geitz, the captain as well, she's Australian captain as well, really stood up in GK and helped them get over the line, I think.
Well, that's pressure, I guess. And here's what the Queensland players, or some of them, had to say after the match. And they were truly elated to win. So let's have a listen to what they said.
Nevins, 3 in a row. How does this feel?
It's pure joy. It's such a special moment, and to have such a tough game like that and come over the line, it's just phenomenal, and the crowd is just unreal.
Yeah, that was unbelievable. And who was that one, Joel?
That was Caitlin Nevis.
Caitlin Nevis. So, just unbelievable match. And was this the best grand final that we've seen in the ANZ Championship?
Oh, without a doubt. I think even going through the quarters, the normal time period, I think it was close. I think it was only a 5-point difference was the biggest lead of the match. So they're obviously the 2 best teams in the competition, and to go down into double extra time was pretty amazing.
And there was obviously a sold-out crowd there of 10,312, which is a massive crowd for a netball match. And what's the general interest in netball at the moment? Because I know it hasn't necessarily been the most popular sport in Australia, but it seems like with the coverage that it's getting, it seems like it's starting to take more steps in that in a good direction.
Yeah, I think female sport in general is becoming more popular, and especially if we're getting more televised games and more coverage of netball, I think it's becoming much more popular, and especially when the Diamonds are going so well, they're world champs at the moment. So I think that creates more interest as well. Yeah,
and I guess with the more teams in the league next year, what is it? The National Netball League. Is that what
coming
it's
into 2017?
Yeah, with more teams especially, that's giving, as we said, more exposure to the females that aren't necessarily, they're playing in the lower leagues now, but there'll be more of an opportunity and more marquee players, I guess, and more money being injected into the sport, which I think is fantastic, because it's sort of, they've been wanting more exposure, and I think they're getting it now. And what do you think this will impact? What impact do you think this will have on netball?
Well, obviously, more girls are going to get the opportunity to play in a higher league and get paid for it. So I think that's a really big step, especially in Australia, as we're the leader basically with a few other countries in netball. So having 8 Australian teams as one of the leading competitions in the world, I think it's going to blow up.
I think it would be the leading competition in the world now, wouldn't it? Yeah. Surely, because I'm not sure what they have in England or any of the other countries around the world. I know it's quite prominent in the Caribbean as well. But
we obviously have a lot of imports, like Ramel Aiken from Jamaica. We have a few girls from England come over and play. So
fantastic.
It always has been the best comp in the world for netball, hasn't it? Surely.
Definitely. Well, what a great note to go out on the ANZ Championship. But let's move on. AFL. It was a pretty big weekend. There were a lot of beltings, but probably the main talking point from this week was Richmond They lost to GWS 111-23, an 88-point dredging at the hands of the Giants. Damien Hardwick, guys, does he stay or does he go?
I think he should go.
Go?
He needs to go. Should have gone, probably. They shouldn't have signed him in the first place. I'm not sure why they did.
Well, how long's he been around for, Val? 7 years?
He started at the beginning of 2010, or that was he got
So
hired.
he's in his 7th season.
Yeah, so it's and
So what's he shown? What's he shown to stick around?
I think
He's given them 2 first-round exits in the finals. Three
three
first-round exits in the finals.
consecutive ones. They haven't really gone forward. Their list is in a state of flux. They're picking guys like Taylor Hunt. Like, what are they doing? Where are they?
Well, that's the thing.
Who are they?
I honestly am at a loss this year because it's just been, I had great expectations of Richmond coming into the year, I'm honestly not sure on what I think of Hardwick at the moment because he's taken us to the finals 3 years in a row, first Richmond team to do that since the 70s, but pretty much all those seasons went out in disappointments, like a loss to Carlton, who didn't even make the finals, only got in because of Essendon, losing that when 32 points up, then getting belted by Port the next year, and then last year losing to North. You'd want more.
North,
than
who
that.
finished 8th
Yeah,
to Richmond's
exactly.
5th. It was
we were fifth,
Richmond's best.
Or they were 5th. Yeah,
Richmond's best season for a long time, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's exactly.
And then-
so it's been really disappointing.
Brendan Gale said on Triple M yesterday that
Yep.
he expects Hardwick to coach next year.
Damien will coach next year, and he's been a strong coach for our footy club, and will continue to be. And this has been a very, very challenging year.
And Brendan Gale, like he said, he'll coach next year, and he's still got 2 years left on his contract. But do they pay him out?
Surely those comments are a hard sell, given they kicked 3 goals the day before.
Exactly.
There's selling hope and there's selling a future, but. Gee, the day before they were as bad as a
Well, if it wasn't for Alex
seen it.
Rance, the Giants could have kicked 25 goals on their own.
Exactly. And you bring up Alex Rance. Richmond has 5 players that are in that sort of elite bracket. You got Rance, Cochin, Rewalt, Delidio, and Martin. But
Wait, who's their 6th best player?
I'd probably say Miles. Anthony Miles.
Sort of spells out where they're at.
Their list
Exactly.
management.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, and list
It's
management has
appalling.
been shocking. And I'd probably put Dylan Grimes up in that
you know what they
category
need
as
to do?
well.
They need to get the list manager back. Terry Wallace, get him back on board.
Yeah. Get him back.
Proven expert at managing lists.
Yeah, definitely not. I'm not sure why that's his Twitter handle.
Why does the media let him get away with running that moniker? I don't understand.
Yeah,
Like,
they
someone take
should.
him to task on that.
Yeah,
Someone
they
point
should.
out the list in 2008 and say, how? Why are you saying this? Why are you making these claims?
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's frustrating to watch.
Let's move on from
but-
Richmond, shall we?
Definitely,
Yeah.
but they there's obviously a big rebuild needed, I think, and we'll move on though. There were so many good stories from this weekend, and probably 3 of those were definitely Boomer Harvey, Jimmy Bartell, and Corey Enright. We'll start with Boomer breaking the all-time games record. Did you guys think we'd ever see this in our lifetime?
No.
No.
God, no. I thought that record was here to stay. I couldn't see how it could possibly happen in this day and age with grueling pre-seasons and all that.
And with the amount of travel that teams have to do now, like back when Tuck made his record or held the record, he didn't have to travel. I think West Coast, Adelaide, and Sydney all had just come in.
Well, he would have played most of his career against Sydney, but West Coast and Adelaide he only played against for 4 or 5 years. Yep.
Yeah. So
West Coast and
Boomer's
Brisbane,
Boomer's 427th game. It was unbelievable, and that North had never lost in Boomer's milestone matches. So they wanted to keep that streak alive, and they certainly did. Pretty clinical against St Kilda.
Can I just ask, did anyone enjoy that game?
No.
Not at all.
Not
I
at
fell
all.
asleep on the couch.
I love the spectacle of just Boomer running around in his 427th game, and obviously Lindsay Thomas taking that mark and
That was a
Boomer
lovely
putting his
moment.
hands on his
Yeah.
head and then saying, "No, I'll take the kick," and then kicking the goal.
Yeah, that was a lovely moment. They're very close friends. I
Drew
believe.
Petrie's mark as well was fantastic.
Oh yeah,
Petrie lit it up in his mate's 427th. So and they all said he was going to do it, and he actually did. So
Well, I just wanted to point out, I think the thing that's so impressive about Boomer's 427 is the fact that it's not like he's on the fringe of their team and they're struggling to select him. He's in their top 10.
I'd say he's probably in their top 2 or 3. And
Yeah.
to be honest, I think that's probably speaks volumes about where North are at as a club.
Yeah.
What I find remarkable about Boomer Harvey is he's 38, 39.
Yeah,
he hasn't
38.
lost any pace.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
still like when I saw him running along the wing the other night, he was fantastic.
You know, after he finishes his career up, he'll go back to the Northern Footy League and terrorise defences for North
He's
Heidelberg
got one of
for
the
10 more
quickest
years.
sidesteps of someone, and from people in their late 20s as opposed to someone in his late 30s.
He's a true phenomenon of the game. And also, Bartel and Enright, absolutely. It was Friday night's match was, I loved it because, you know, these two guys have been stalwarts of the Geelong Footy Club for the last 13 years. And Rudy, a Geelong man, you would have been thrilled to see them get the win.
Yep, it was pretty enjoyable. Does anyone not love Jimmy Bartel, though? Any footy fan?
I love him.
I think I love him even more now that he's got that incredible beard.
Yeah,
it is fantastic.
I tell you what, they
40s
they
going
nailed the marketing of that. The
They did.
300,
That
the
300,
30,
that was
and
fantastic.
the hair and the beard. That was beautiful
The,
stuff.
the ending to that match, though, convinced me that there's some form of scripting in the AFL with Jimmy Bartel kicking a goal right
On
at the end.
Left foot with 5 seconds to go. Yeah, I was in the pub that night and I made quite a bit of noise. There were people
you
looking at
definitely
me.
would have, and on the left as well. But also, there were 4 beltings this week of matches that were decided by more than 80 points, and it's a little bit because considering how close the season is, or between the top 8 at least. But the bottom, there's just such a difference now, isn't there?
Yeah, look, I have a theory on this. I think that the AFL should be genuinely considering a 17-round season.
Really?
Yeah, well, I mean, so we've got 22 rounds now. So if you cut down five rounds off, 9 games each, that's 45 games. I reckon that there's comfortably 45 games per year at the moment that actively damage the AFL's brand, that people will not watch, will turn off from. Think even of North St Kilda the other night, 2 teams that are pretty close to each other on the ladder. The game was a stinker.
Yeah.
Think
And
of
that game could have decided who finished in the top 8 as well.
Yeah, exactly. Adelaide Essendon yesterday. None of Richmond GWS. These games become irrelevant, especially at the moment. Port are 2-3 games outside, and they're ninth. So all of a sudden, like the teams in the bottom 10 teams, like what are they playing for?
Positions
You
now,
talk,
really.
you talk about 45 games that are irrelevant. 44 of them are just Essendon and Brisbane.
Yeah, essentially.
That's pretty fair. Their game they played against each other the other day was not a grand spectacle, but I think it's something the AFL should really consider. I understand that there's a lot of commercial considerations to take on board.
And
but
tradition as well.
yeah,
Just having that 22 game.
it also fixes up the fixture.
And it goes
Yeah.
against the expansion policy as well.
Mm.
So
That's
it's-
another thing. I reckon we'd stand to lose 4 to 6 footy teams.
Yeah, exactly. And well, with the trouble that Brisbane's in at the moment, even Gold Coast are struggling. So it's, I don't know. I don't agree. I think they should keep it at 22. I like the longer season, the better, because I love watching my footy. And
It would also work for the Players Association. They want 2 buys a
Well, yeah,
season.
exactly.
They won't need that if it's 17 games.
yeah,
Well,
they might only need probably not even the one. Or maybe just the one.
Yeah, like a mid-season one
Yeah.
maybe.
I'm surprised you wouldn't want it shorter, Val. It's just another month of Richmond disappointing you.
Well, you know, if I want to be a journalist, I've got to be impartial. So it gives me more of a chance to do that. So
Then again, Josh, we've got to contend with Essendon for another few
Yes, we
weeks.
do.
But that's a really interesting topic, and I reckon we can raise that more over the next few weeks, depending on if there's more beltings. But we'll move on to the Formula One last night in Germany. Lewis Hamilton again continuing his domination of the sport, winning his 6th race of the past 7. Daniel Ricciardo, the Australian, coming in 2nd position. Very interesting champagne celebration on the podium. And Max Verstappen, his Red Bull teammate, in 3rd. Nico Rosberg 4th, was 3rd, but got a 5-second time penalty. And Sebastian Vettel finishing 5th. But another poor start for Nico Rosberg, who started on pole. He just looked like he stopped, didn't he?
Yeah, he had a bit of wheel spin getting off the grid. It was a strange start.
It wasn't good at all, but I think the main thing that makes us happy is seeing Daniel Ricciardo up in 2nd position. And as I mentioned, his champagne celebration, he drank it out of his shoe last night. So here's what he had to say about the taste of that. It was very interesting.
What does champagne out of a sweaty race boot taste like?
Delicious. Scrumptious.
And
You can tell he's Aussie, can't you?
Drinking
Doing your
champagne
shoey-
out of a shoe.
Doing your shoey
that's
is the most Australian thing ever.
quintessential
Yeah,
Australian.
it definitely is. And he was elated last night with that win, with that 2nd place, because he said before that he was pretty much fighting for 3rd behind the Mercedes, and he definitely cemented that. And going into the standings, Hamilton, he was 43 points down after the 6th race of the season in Spain. And now he's 19 points up over Nico Rosberg, who's on 198 points. So Hamilton 217. Ricciardo 3rd, miles behind on 133. Kimi Räikkönen, not sure how he's 4th, but he's on 122. And Sebastian Vettel, the 4-time world champ, is on 120. Constructors standings as well. Mercedes 415, way out ahead of Red Bull in 2nd on 256. Ferrari 3rd, 242. Williams 4th, 96. And Force India 5th on 81. Who would have thought that?
Yeah, well, I would have thought the Constructors Championships, they'd been decided before the season had actually started.
Yeah, essentially.
But it is good to see Red Bull, their times are closing in.
They are,
especially with
definitely.
qualifying, it was only 0.3 of a second off the pace, I think. It's good to see that they're doing improvements to the engine. It's getting a little bit faster, and they're challenging the Mercedes. I don't think they're going to be challenging to the point where they're going to be getting pole probably for the rest of the season, but it is good to see improvement.
Yeah, I agree. And I think over the next month, where they've got 3 weeks off, they'll have time to improve those times, and we'll see when we get to Belgium in the next race. But the cricket, and it was a pretty disappointing loss for Australia against Sri Lanka. Only the second time the Sri Lankans have ever beaten Australia in a test match. They lost by 106 runs. Man of the match, Kusal Mendis, for his match-winning 176 in the second innings. Unbelievable knock, wasn't it, Rudy?
Oh, it was a sensational knock. I think his first test ton, I believe, it was a commanding knock, one that was certainly took the Aussies by surprise. They gave him a pretty easy time of it for probably too long. But, like you said, pretty disappointing second time to lose to Sri Lanka. That's 7 tests in a row they've lost in Asia now. They've won one single test in Asia in 10 years. 10 years. It all sort of speaks to this recurring theme of just being unable to play spin.
Which I don't understand.
How is this still a problem? Like, how is our test team continually not able to play spin? I don't understand.
It's the moving ball at all. They can't play seam or swing either.
They struggle in England as well.
Exactly. Yeah, all they can play is a flat deck in Australia and
South Africa as well.
Yeah, true. But then they're absolutely unstoppable. But it's a massive problem they've got. I think there's a few discipline issues. Steve Smith was the main culprit for me. That ugly Hoik, I think it was the first ball of the second day. When he came down the pitch, just missed one. And
it was like a number 11 shot, essentially.
It was. And then what made that more insulting is then a couple of days later, you've got Peter Neville and Stephen O'Keefe on one leg, who've played out about 30 consecutive maidens trying to save the test. And you sort of think back to the captain of the team throwing his bat, getting nowhere near it, getting out stumped. Yeah. What's that? That's absolute garbage.
And for someone who's supposed to be probably our best spin player on the team as well.
Yeah, exactly. And they bowled Sri Lanka out for 117 on the first day.
You should never lose a match when you bowl a team out for 117 in the first innings.
Never, ever. It was very disappointing.
What do we think of, when you talk about disappointing, what do we think of David Warner?
Oh. That's probably his worst test match.
A duck and a one. Jeez.
Yeah.
Says it all.
His worst test match. And he bowled and took no wickets. So
yeah, I think with Warner, I think a lot of teams have figured out you can stop Warner just by bowling spin at him early. He tries to smash the cover off it, and he just needs to settle down a bit.
It's a good learning experience for him, I think. But the only real highlight for Australia was the GOAT, Nathan Lyon. The greatest of all time, a finger spinner for Australia. He's the only man to ever only finger spinner to take 200 test wickets. And
for Australia.
Oh, for Australia.
There's a couple of other finger spinners
I meant for Australia, don't worry. But he's fought a lot, hasn't he?
Yeah, even in this, he's sort of this underrated character, I think, Nathan Lyon. He's clearly very influential in the team lineup. They gave him that cherished song singing position for when they win the tests. But even in this test match, both innings, Steve O'Keefe came on ahead of him.
Which I didn't understand that either.
Yeah, but I think Nathan Lyon he's a beautiful bowler. He's a cricketer's bowler. Every cricketer I know watches Nathan Lyon and goes, I wish I could bowl like that.
He puts the ball in awesome, just perfect positions, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And he comes around the wicket.
Can't come forward, yeah.
Yeah, he comes around the wicket and uses it to perfection, because often when you're a spinner and coming around the wicket, it is a little bit difficult. But it gives him a really good angle that he's able to use, and I think he's utilised that really well. But, he's had to fight with O'Keefe, Ashton Agar, I think that infamous 2013 Ashes series.
Yeah, that was a bit of a joke, to be honest.
Yeah, I think Agar's 98 got himself into the second test, but otherwise he really didn't do much else.
Nathan Lyon is 25 times the bowler that Ashton Agar is. I don't think anyone can debate that. No, especially not these days.
Yeah,
200 test wickets later.
Yeah, taking his 200 test wicket. I think he's only 48 off the great Richie Benaud, isn't he?
Richie Benaud took for 248. That's right. So that's next in line, I suppose.
So that's elite company.
Then there's one other bloke who's way ahead
on 708 test wickets.
Yeah,
Shane Warne
might have to play for another 15 years or so.
Yeah.
He's only 27, I think.
Yeah, he's not in his.
Nathan Lyon,
Well,
which-
he made his debut exactly 5 years ago
Yeah,
in Sri Lanka. And
in Sri
took a
Lanka.
wicket with his first ball.
Yeah,
I think it was Sangakkara.
I think you sort of think of Nathan Lyon as older because he looks like he's in his mid-50s.
He debuted and he looked like he was almost about to retire.
Yeah, he turns 29 in November, so
29 in November,
very
there you go.
very very young still, and I think we've got a good 5-6 years of Nathan Lyon hopefully spinning Australia to victory, but we'll
Wow.
definitely.
Yeah, well, maybe they should face him in the nets and try and learn how to play the bloody spinning
or
ball.
even Warney. We had Murali doing it as well, but that's a problem for another day, I reckon. With Australia, we'll talk about the second tests, or I think it'll be mid-second test next week.
Starts
so.
Thursday.
Yep. So that'll be interesting.
If everything goes to the way it did, it'll probably be wrapped up in 3 days.
Yeah,
So-
probably. Hopefully we can bat a little bit better. But the Olympics is coming up next week, and
You wouldn't know it, would you?
No, you wouldn't. The lack of advertising.
We have seen a little bit of Kitty Chiller around. I don't know if you guys have heard. But she's the chef de mission.
We've seen too much of Kitty Chiller, I think. But you never really see the chef de mission in the spotlight like that. She's sort of there taking care of the athletes, not usually doing too much. But
do we have athletes over there?
Yeah,
I haven't noticed.
apparently.
No one's mentioned it.
Kitty Chiller got a key to the city in Rio.
To Rio?
Yeah.
I thought they would just be passing them out by now.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. I find it a little bit ridiculous. But that brings up a really good point, Josh. Has the Olympics lost its aura?
Yes. It's not the same. I don't even think it's a debatable type of opinion. Looking back from when I was 9 watching the 2004 Athens Olympics, there was so much expectation. Like 6 months into it, there were people analysing it, debating it. And here we're like a month away, oh yeah, Olympics, that's just around the corner. That's as far as we've gotten into it.
I think they cheapen the Olympics a little bit by involving sports like golf and tennis. You know what I mean? Like, why? Who wants to go to the Olympics and win the golf? Like, they've got all these other majors to compete for. Why would you want to win? Like, it just
But as a
doesn't really
tennis
matter.
fan, I love seeing the Olympics. That's
to me though, the Olympics has always had that allure of the swimming and the athletics. They've always been the major focus.
I think it's all well and good to say it's lost its allure and that, but like, are you guys not going to be watching the swimming? Not going to be watching the track and field?
Of course I will.
Like, I'll be watching
the 100 meter sprint.
Oh yeah, I want to see Usain Bolt do it again.
I'll be watching the dressage. That's how much I love. Yeah, the synchronized swimming.
The
Exactly.
diving.
That's how
I
much-
become a diving expert when I watch.
Oh yeah. I sit there and it's too much splash. Sorry, no. He's
Yeah,
the
not
judges
good
will
enough.
look,
What about the
look kindly on that.
equestrian guys? Do you love the equestrian?
It has its moments, definitely.
It does have its moments.
When you're watching them just running through and knocking over one of those poles and just like the form
Not
of the
good
jump
enough.
was not perfect.
I just love to watch horses dance.
It's the equestrian. I think that brings out equestrian's popularity, don't you think?
Yeah.
There's so many spots. Even the shooting. Like I love watching the
That's
shooting.
actually my point. Like, at the end of the day, dressage is the highest competition for dressage is the Olympics.
Yeah.
That's fine. The highest competition for tennis and golf, it's not. It's not the
it's
Olympics. Football,
definitely not.
soccer, like the
Yeah.
same thing.
Yeah.
Nowhere near.
Yeah, exactly. They
So
send
saying
down the
Olympics needs to
23s.
cut back on some sports.
Well, what's the point of having an Olympics competition for soccer like
When we've
3
got-
weeks after the Euros?
3 weeks after, yeah.
And we've got a World Cup as well. So
Yeah.
the Olympics is essentially a World Cup for the under 23s when they've already got that.
Exactly.
Plus the Matildas are going there.
I'll
there's
be right
already-
behind the Matildas. Don't worry about
When
that.
there's I know that, but like there's already a World Cup.
I think that's a little bit different. I think the Olympics for the women's soccer is actually a higher profile than the women's World Cup.
Yeah,
to
100%
be
agree,
fair.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's definitely going to be an interesting talking point when we hit the Olympics. But we'll move on to what we're looking forward to over the next sporting week. And Joel, we'll start off with you. What are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to the round of 32 in the FFA Cup. Green Gully actually out of St Albans taking on Central Coast in the A-League.
That'd be really interesting.
They've got a real chance.
They do have a chance.
Yeah,
CCM
Central
are
Coast-
probably lucky to be a state league side.
Not playing well at all, are they? But Josh, you're...
There's no question. The Olympics. Even
Olympics.
though I'm unlike most people. I've been watching the lead up to the Olympics a lot. I'm so looking forward to the swimming and the athletics. Hopefully, our swimming team has a bit better culture than it did 4 years ago. But
Still knocks.
still exactly. But so hopefully Olympics will be exciting. We can get we've got a lot of medal options for Australia. So hopefully we can pull through with some gold.
I definitely hope so, because last time was a bit of a letdown. But Viv, what are you looking forward to?
Oh, I'm really looking forward to the Olympics as well. I actually personally like the opening ceremony.
Yep.
So I'm looking forward to that in the next week.
Anna Mears carrying the flag for Australia.
Yeah, that's exciting. I think
Rate
Anna
that,
Mears
rate that.
she's getting the recognition that she deserves.
Definitely.
Agreed. She's a brilliant Olympic athlete.
Definitely. And Rudy, what are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to seeing if Adelaide can finally knock off that famous Geelong 239 highest score ever against Brisbane on the weekend. Adelaide's forward line functions beautifully.
Yes.
Yep.
Brisbane are one of the worst football teams I've ever seen, and I think it's a genuine possibility at Adelaide Oval on Saturday night.
In a season with a team that has half their team suspended.
Well, yeah, I definitely. You know what? I agree with you with that. I'm looking forward to that one as well. But that's about it for the final score today, and we'll be back with you same time next week. Thanks, Rudy, Viv, Josh, and Joel. And I'm your host, Val Febo, for Upstart at La Trobe University. Thank you, Joel.
City. Look out! Puts it the right hand side. Jordan Rapallo!
But it's Murray's time in the sunshine of centre court once again.
He's gone!